Everyone, just give us a minute. We got William loading up into that box, y'all. Nobody to debate. What's going on? How old are you?
Answer.
Hey, Dean, my name's David. How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. How old are you?
I am 39 in Texas.
39, and do you support Trump?
So I wouldn't say that I support Trump, but I'd love to debate you on immigration because it's one of the things where I tend to agree with the right on.
So you support Trump's immigration policy?
Uh, in part. So I would say that the main thing that I think of when I think of immigration is that we have a legal process and the people should come here within that legal process. Now, when it comes to asylum, like you were mentioning earlier, absolutely 100% support people who are at risk of death or great bodily harm to be able to come into the country. But where I don't support it and where I don't agree with some of the philosophies of the left is that people who have come here entirely illegally, who have completely circumvented the process, I believe that those people should need to go back to their home countries and they should come back in a legal fashion.
Who's Weebler?
Weebler?
Is that what you guys are saying? Is Wilbur?
This is my account. My dad doesn't have TikTok.
Oh, okay. It's somebody's dad. Okay, well let's just talk to you. Anyways, Mr. David. So let's see if we could agree on something. Can we agree that we should really only like enforce laws, and make laws and create new ones if they benefit the people, if they increase qualities of life?
I'd say that's a fair statement.
And like typically when there's laws that do the opposite of that decrease like life quality, we get rid of them.
Ideally, that doesn't tend to happen. Laws are very difficult to remove once they're established.
Ideally, that's what we should do. This is my thought on mass deportation. I think it's a law that we have that we should get rid of because it serves to the worst interests of the people and it decreases qualities of life. Okay, the reason I say it decreases qualities of life is because undocumented migrants, as a demographic in this country, are productive providers to the American economy that pay over $100 billion per year in taxes on the federal, state, and local level. They account for millions of laborers in the American labor force, and they're projected to add over $3 trillion to the American GDP in the next 10 years. Okay? So when we, do this mass deportation, we kick them out and we say, they can no longer work. All of a sudden, we're forcefully removing millions of individuals from the American labor force. American industries are now crippled. Okay? We are going to go without the $100 billion per year in government revenues. The government has less money to spend on social safety nets. And we're going to slow GDP growth dramatically by Xing out $3 trillion in the next 10 years. Okay? So that's my big issue. And this doesn't even account for the ethics such as not giving people their constitutional right to due process, deporting 2-year-old citizens, deporting citizens with brain cancer, and being ordered by a court to facilitate the return of some individuals deported, such as migrants from Venezuela or Brigo Garcia, because they were deported without due process, and ignoring it. Love to hear your thoughts on that, David. You're on mute, by the way.
So when it comes to scenarios where mistakes have been made, I absolutely think that those scenarios should be rectified quickly. But when it comes to somebody who's entered the country illegally, they've already committed a crime by breaking the law of the country.
Right.
So by default, they're already a criminal. And that might be unfortunate verbiage. That might be something that needs to be changed. And there's a lot of ways that that's potentially fixed. But at this time, somebody who came here illegally is technically a criminal, and that person is subject to deportation. People who've come here legally and have legal status
I
in the country.
I responded to this, David. My argument was they are subject to deportation under current law, but we agreed that we should try to get rid of law that decreases qualities of life in this country, and this is one of the laws that does that.
Yeah, and that's fair. If they were to come up with a process by which people could quickly become either legal citizens or have legal status through work visas or whatever would be established, that would absolutely be fair.
Now we're talking mass amnesty offering undocumented migrants that have not committed violent crimes a pathway to residency or citizenship now you're
Yeah.
further left than the Democrat Party.
I think that's absolutely fair. And I'm not a full Trump supporter. This is just one thing that I happen to agree with him on. But I have a question for you, and I mean this.
You don't agree with him on it. No, you don't. David, you
I
just
think
told
that
us
people who
that
are
you
here
think that
illegally.
you just told you first you conceded that mass deportation places America last and hurts qualities of life in this country, and then you agreed that this very far left position of mass amnesty for undocumented migrants is preferable. You are completely adjacent to Donald Trump's views on immigration. You and me have the same views on immigration. You just agreed with me.
But the fact is that that's not how the system is set up right now. And if we're going to live in a fair society, we have to follow the system and follow the rules accordingly, or change them.
So now the question should be, because it's not either mass deportation or mass amnesty, it's either mass deportation or they stay here. What's going to be better? I'd argue them staying here, so then we could advocate for Democrats in the midterms as well as in the next presidential election that support a plan of mass amnesty.
Sensible, but here's where the fairness part of it comes in. What do we say to everybody who followed the rules prior? Why do the people who follow the rules, did things the right way, why is there a reward for the people who didn't?
That's a very fair question. Okay, let's talk about fairness. I think that this is unfair to legal migrants. But I think we disagree on who causes this unfairness, because my position is the legal migrants are being slapped in the face. It's not by the undocumented migrants, okay? And here's why. What causes individuals to enter into this country the use of undocumented means compared to legal means?
Generally speaking, and this is an assumption to be fair, I would assume that people need to get here quickly for one reason or another, probably to benefit their families, to help save their families from poverty. All good reasons.
Well, that's what
All fair
causes
reasons
that's
for
what
those
causes
people.
immigration as a whole, just a better quality of life. But what gives people that extra push into America with the use of undocumented means?
I wish I knew that answer. I've never thought of that before. I don't know what the correct answer is there. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I got one. It's because the legal means are viewed as unattainable to them. Okay? Nobody wants to be an undocumented migrant. It's not like it's preferable to legal migration. Having an undocumented status where you're under this constant threat of being deported, ripped away from your family and life is definitely not preferable to the opposite. Having the status where you can't get a driver's license, an ID, or even get a loan at a bank to buy a house is not preferable to the opposite. But the reason so many people take that option is because they view the legal means of entry as unattainable because of how expensive and how long they take. Okay, and why are they expensive? Why do they take so long? Why are they backlogged for years? It's because our Congress, our government, has neglected them for essentially all of modern American history. Ask yourself, when has Trump ever done anything about making the legal means of entry into this country faster? Not
He
ever.
hasn't, and that's where the
You know,
problem
in
is.
fact, you could even then
Improving the
say that
system
about
is
the
the
Democrats.
answer.
What have the Democrats done? The Democrats have taken small steps in the right direction, such as supporting the bipartisan border bill, but it's not even that much. Okay, so when you tell me that this is a huge unfair slap in the face to legal migrants, I'm inclined to agree with you. Okay, but I don't put that blame on the undocumented migrants. I put that blame on Congress and on the American government for the reasons I just listed.
That's absolutely fair, because that's how I look at a lot of things. Most of these hot button issues is really a fully federal government issue as a whole, because we have two sides that are too busy pandering, and they're not actually doing what's right. They're not actually fixing things. They're not doing anything to make things better, but there's very obvious and easy solutions. But I guess that what comes to mind for me when I listen occasionally with my daughter and my wife, who love you. It just seems like you constantly rally against the right. You hate Trump. Maybe hate's a strong word. You definitely dislike Trump. But where is the responsibility to all of the left who really aren't fixing anything either? I hate both sides for this reason. There's lots of things we argue about and not a lot of solutions.
Well, I think it's funny that you're making this point now, because I just spoke about something that I believe that the left is doing wrong with not supporting mass amnesty or making legal means of entry into this country significantly faster. So it's just funny that you bring this up after I just got done critiquing the left. I will say that most of my time is spent critiquing the right, and I feel like that's valid to do right now, because right now I think that I just want everybody to know that our president is a fascist that has no respect for the Constitution and wants to redistribute wealth from the poor to the rich while isolating us from global forms of commerce and harming our own citizens. You know what I mean? I want everybody to fucking know who we're dealing with. So when it comes time to start advocating for Democrats in the midterm, you know who to vote for and who to vote against.
I mean, fascist is a bit of a stretch, though.
I don't.
Comparing
No,
somebody who killed 6 million people plus everybody else lost in wars
I actually
is a
don't think it is.
little bit different than what's happening here. Saying, "Hey,
Actually,
go home,"
I
is a
actually don't think it
big
is.
difference from "Let's go put you in a gas chamber."
So I actually don't think that calling Trump a fascist is a stretch at all. I understand, and maybe I could even agree that, like, sure, throughout like American politics, typically speaking, parties have used strong words and language to refer to members of the opposing party. Sometimes those are conflated and they're not true and they are a stretch, but in this circumstance, it's not a stretch. The reason why I have 14 defining characteristics of fascism in the literature and academia, I believe that the Trump administration fits all 14. Do you want to talk about that? I could go over them.
Yeah, I think I came here talking about immigration, so I think we should stick there to be fair. When it comes down to it, it seems like you and I have a very similar view on how to approach the amnesty aspect, how to give people the ability to be here legally, etc. What is the way you would accomplish that?
Through my saying, I'm not giving. I'm not going to act like I know. I'm sorry. I could speculate. I could come up with something that sounds reasonable, something that sounds sensible, something that sounds good on the spot. I could probably do that. I'm not. The reason why I say I'm not going to do that is I'd be over conflating my qualifications. I'm not qualified enough to give you that plan. I think I'm qualified enough to say what I want in the end, but I'm not qualified enough to be very, specific about how I believe we'd get there.
That's fair. I respect you for that.
Yeah. But seriously, man, I'd heavily implore you to go on Google, type in tenets of fascism, read through the 14 defining characteristics of fascism, and say, well, does Trump fit this qualifier? And the more you know about Trump, the more he fits every single one of them.
I'm gonna look at them right now. I appreciate the chat, man.
Of course, man. You have a good rest of your day, David.
You too.